had I not pushed myself to get out of that comfort zone, to be okay with change, even when sometimes it was really difficult, we would not be where we are today, where my nonprofit has helped over 11,000 individuals grow in confidence, grow in self-esteem, believe in themselves, and have well-being. Welcome to the Confident Podcast. I am Lisa Tarkington, your host of this podcast. If you found yourself hitting play on this podcast, it means it was meant for you. My goal is to help empower and guide you to become a better version of yourself through conversation, advice, and tips that are real, vulnerable, and authentic. I am excited to have you join this journey with me. So let's get started. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Confident Podcast. I am your host, Lisa Tarkington, and it is such an honor to be here talking about all things confidence. We're going to get some real conversations going today, just about change, evolving, being okay with that, and just what are all the ups and downs that come with it. You know, when we look at seasons, we have to look at seasons as maybe sometimes new beginnings. Sometimes we're shedding different things from our lives. Sometimes we're going from cold to warm to sunshine to maybe some depression to depression back to happy. All of the moves in our lives, all the changes in our lives are going to have those ups and downs, but it's about how we manage them, what are our expectations of ourselves, and just all the things in between it. And so today we're going to dive into some of my own stories of how I've gotten through some things and just kind of being that real vulnerable person that I've been on this podcast recently, more than I think I ever have. And then just really providing you with key tools to really help you when you're going through change, especially things that I found myself that I wasn't doing well. But once I flipped the switch, it really helped me change my mindset to be okay with the changes that were ahead of me. So before we dive into that, I recently have been getting a lot of phone calls and conversations with people specifically around things that they need help with. So just to back up, as you know, I run a nonprofit, Self-Love Beauty, and we teach confidence and self-esteem to all generations. I'm also a leadership consultant as well as an associate certified coach through ICF. And through that, I see a variety of different people in the day-to-day seeking connection, wanting more confidence, wanting more purpose. But we don't always know where to start, right? And that's okay. I think many times we feel like in this space, we need to take control and be the experts in it, when really we should be coming to the experts like myself to get some support. Just like when I have a plumbing issue or I have an accounting issue, usually I am calling on the experts to help me. And so when these people are calling me, I'm really, really, first off, proud of them that they're just not sitting in it and thinking about all the things that they need to figure out for themselves and kind of just going in circles, but they're looking at the experts for support. Sometimes they've already asked for help and they're coming to me second. Sometimes I'm the first one, but it doesn't matter who you go to, but I would really, really suggest finding experts in these areas to really support you on your journey. So some of the things that I've been hearing from people is their struggles with self-doubt, their struggles with insecurity, struggles with purpose, finding community, finding their voice, burnt out, and the list goes on. And one of the things that I love to just remind parents when they're coming to me about these things is having conversations with your kids is huge. So changing the questions from why questions to what questions. So what makes you feel that way? What do you need my support on? Thanking them for coming to you if they come to you to talk about something. And then also making being part of that solution, right? The other thing too is when people are coming to me of struggling with purpose, struggling with burnout, we have a lot of conversations about what are the boundaries that they're setting, what's causing them to feel this way. So a lot of questions and reflections need to happen before the change can come into play. And you'll see that throughout today when I'm sharing all of these things of the questions I've had to ask myself. And when I didn't ask myself those questions, what kind of evolved from that. And so one other thing that's really come up for people recently, and including myself, is when we become envious of other people. Now, to me, the difference between being envy and jealousy is very different. So envy sometimes really means that I'm envious of what they have because I want that too. Jealousy sometimes brings out the negativity in people, and we kind of have that bad culture feeling into things. And so for me, it was more of like, wow, I'm really envious of how they showed up to that, or I'm very envious of how they set boundaries, or I'm very envious of XYZ. And so when you kind of feel that way, I always tell people like, well, there's something about how that person's portraying or doing something that you're kind of like, okay, I want to do that too. And so again, how do you move through that change of having that self-awareness of like, wow, I'm really envious that they're doing that. How do I take control of my life in that way as well? So change is hard. Hands down, I'm not going to sit here and say that change is the easiest thing in the world. Some people have a skill set that is more adaptable than other people. Some people take a long time to process things. So if you've never done a skill or a strengths I would say like quiz or finder, I would highly suggest seeing how you handle change, understanding your strengths, understanding how you handle different situations. Because if you know that you are adaptable, it really helps you understand, okay, this is like, I know that I'm going to get through this quicker. I'm going to get to the solution faster. And then some people that are processors, when they hear of a change, they just need more time to process things. Either one is a great strength. So I'm not saying to be either one. It's more of just a personality trait, a strengths trait, but it's also important to understand how other people handle those situations so that when you're working through change together, that it's happening in a flow, in an ease way versus abruptly having all of these changes happen. So when you think about change, I'm just going to talk about my career here for a second. So change has been this evolution of my career. I think many times I've had to ask myself for years, what do I want to be when I grow up? And through all of it, to take you back to when I was in my high school years, my dream was to be a broadcaster. I wanted to work in football for the Denver Broncos and be a broadcaster for them. I was very, very, very straight on that. And clearly I'm not a broadcaster now. So definitely a lot of change and evolving has happened over the years. I found different ways to use my voice. But when I had to make that shift and that change, I remember being really scared to tell my broadcasting teacher at the time because he had got me into a program, was really on board and helping me. But I knew that if I continued to go down this path that he had helped me on, because I did ask for help, that I wouldn't be my true self. I wouldn't be happy with it. So change right there was really hard to make that decision. That also included having to choose a different college that I was going to. So I completely had to scrap my whole idea of the college I was going to and what I was going to school for because I knew that that's not what I wanted to do anymore. Now that change happened and it opened more doors for me. And then the next thing that I had was a college experience, which was not what I was expecting. Honestly, my college years were great. I loved every minute. But when I come from a small town to a big culture shock of a college, I had to evolve and change again. And the evolving and changing happened again when you go from living with your best friends, going to class, working an internship to, drumroll, a big career. I went right from college. I had 2 weeks off from after graduation, 2 weeks off, and I started my new career for a corporation. And talk about another change in my life. I had to get an apartment on my own. I no longer was living with my friends. I was wearing suits to work, and I don't wear suits at all anymore, which is crazy to think that I would. I remember my first whole week, I had a different suit for every day. And the change of learning a new culture and a new environment. All of that was scary. Everything that I knew from college, I now had to evolve into, I wouldn't say a whole different person, but I had to learn a lot of new things. Then it was the years of building Self-Love Beauty, my blog. It started out as a blog. And, yesterday a woman asked me, she called me up and she asked me, like, what made you start this nonprofit? What made you start it? And it all started with a blog. It started with me sharing my story of confidence and self-esteem and my struggles. It then evolved and changed to have over 100 contributor writers writing for us, which is just outstanding to think about. And then it evolved to us becoming an LLC, starting a Beautiful Me campaign where we talked about loving yourself and having confidence. And we had a t-shirt campaign, and our t-shirt campaigns were big. We went all the way to New York City to host some campaigns. We went to different states to do that. And then one day it all changed when someone sat me down and asked me, have you ever considered becoming a nonprofit? And I laughed and I said, there's no way I ever want to become a nonprofit. I really love my career and I like doing this on the side. And that was a moment that I remember very, very well because he just was very adamant about it. And he said, I want you to meet with a few different people because I really think what you have is something that's missing. And I said, okay. And at that time, guys, change was still happening. What I was teaching was not popular. You hear about self-esteem a lot now. You hear about mental well-being a lot now, but that was not a predominant conversation that we were having 7 years ago. And so I took that and then I moved on with my day. I remember feeling like there was something more for me, but I didn't know what that was. So I had to really pause. And that's probably the first time in my life where I just wasn't like instantly trying to find like what's meant for me. And so I just sat on that for a little bit. And another revolution and change happened when I was teaching a program and I watched two young girls talk pretty poorly about themselves. Actually, one talked pretty poorly about themselves. The other one had a lot of confidence. And I watched as they talked about, what they've learned and where they were learning it from. And it was an aha in my life of another change of, wow, we need to bridge the gap of confidence across all generations because their parents only knew so much. Their older siblings only knew so much. And so we really needed to make sure that everybody had these skills. And then the next change came when I became a nonprofit and I left my corporate career. I left all my stability and I took a part-time job to pay the bills while I was building my nonprofit. No one talks about that change enough for entrepreneurs, the scary feeling, the tears that come with it, and also just trying to breathe at the same time. And over the last 5 years, I will tell you that the impact that Self-Love Beauty has made all of these changes so important to me. It's made them all worth it. But had I not pushed myself to get out of that comfort zone, to be okay with change, even when sometimes it was really difficult, we would not be where we are today, where my nonprofit has helped over 11,000 individuals grow in confidence, grow in self-esteem, believe in themselves, and have well-being. And then comes the next change, and one that I'm very excited to share with all of you guys today, is that over the last year, we have thought about the new evolution of Self-Love Beauty, of what this looks like for us. And Self-Love Beauty is very deeply personal for me because it started with my story of knowing that I was struggling, and then it evolved to the stories of so many other individuals. And then it grew to be a story of so many. And so I'm so excited to announce that Self-Love Beauty is now becoming a nonprofit that is going to be called LEAD. So LEAD is a representation of leadership, empowerment, awareness, and development. It's all about helping people have the tools in their lives to really grow to reach their full potential. So everything that Self-Love Beauty stands for is staying the same, but what we are doing is we are evolving, we are growing, and we are wanting to make a bigger change. So we are going to teach people how to lead with kindness, as we have been already. We're teaching people how to lead with connection, lead with confidence, lead with empowerment. Because when we lead from within, we have that ripple effect of positive change on so many people. But it has to start with us. And so through this process, change has been extremely difficult for me. But knowing that I had to sit back and ask myself a lot of reflection questions of like, okay, looking at my story, what are all the things in my life that have changed, have not gone as planned to get me to where I'm at today? How will this then make the impact that I want? So like, what is the purpose of all of this? And when I got my ego out of the way, when I got the processing, so this one I really had to process, I was really on board to know that like the baby, the infant that I have built is now becoming a more mature adult. And I'm so excited for all of you guys to be on that journey with me as we grow, as we change, as we evolve. And I spent a lot of time on that piece today because it's a very big and exciting moment. It's also like, oh, whoa, Lisa, moment of an evolution for who I am, what my company is for, and how change is a good thing. So sometimes, again, change comes quickly. Sometimes it takes us time to process. And and both are important depending on the situation. And so the other areas of my life, and probably yours too, where we are finding a lot of changes is as we're growing as humans, as we're growing as adults, we're moving. We're moving to maybe a different location, moving to different homes, making new friends, and finding ourselves. And there are many times where you're probably like, I just want to give up, right? I just want this to get better. I'm done feeling these ways through the change, or sometimes you just want to break. And I feel all of that. I think if you were to ask my family and my friends, the changes that I've had in my life, the last 5 years have been the most change of my life. I bought a house. I got a dog. I met my husband. I got married. I hired. I had people move on to different careers, hired again. We've evolved as a company. So a lot of personal and professional change. And so as you're listening to this, I want you to think about your own changes. I want you to think about all the things in your life that probably have happened that you don't even, we just kind of move through sometimes. And we don't always reflect on, wow, that change was very monumental to who I am today. That change really set me up to be where I am today. Or, oh, wow, I should have made that change a long time ago, but I was scared or it was uncomfortable. But I'm so glad I made that change now. So wherever you are, maybe you're walking, maybe you're multitasking and listening to this, I just want you to start stirring up those conversations in your head. Because when we can see how far we've come, it makes the next change a little less scary. It makes us know okay, I've done this before. Now I have more tools to do this again. It helps us be a little bit more fearless. It helps us know that life is all about change and evolving. I sometimes call them the chapters of our lives. I also call them the versions of who we are. Sometimes we're moving to version 4.0. Maybe we're already up to 10. But it's all about changing and evolving and becoming the person that you've wanted to be. So back to change is hard. All of these things probably sounded like, wow, lots of changes, lots of good things. And through all of these changes, absolutely, right? I am so happy for where we've gone. But I also will say is that with all of these, there's been tears. There's been moments of self-doubt. There's been moments of, can I do this? But with every moment like that, there's also been moments of, look at how far I've come. I'm so proud that I was open to suggestions. I was open to innovation and I wasn't stuck in my way. I was talking to someone the other day. I had this big plan that I had set for myself. And I was like, this is how I'm going to meet this and blah, blah. And she's like, okay, sounds great. I support it. And guess what, guys? It did not go as planned at all. And I was talking to her the other day about that. And she said to me, it sounds like you know where you wanted to go, but the journey to get there was not what you envisioned. But it sounds like you're finally open to that change. And I remember being like, yes, I'm a planner to the T. I want all of the changes that I'm going to make into my life to go exactly as I have planned. But in reality, that doesn't always happen that way. Frankly, more than not, it doesn't happen that way. But when you are open to it and you just kind of say this is the end goal, here, all the things in between, I'm okay with how they fall into place because I know what the change is going to be, is a really important thing. And don't get me wrong, there are days where I'm really good at that, but I'll tell you, this changes in my life have also been really hard for me. But some of the things and key tools that I want to share with you guys today is, first off, take a deep breath. Take that deep breath when you're going through change. And I hope all of you guys, as you heard me say that, took that deep breath. Because that's where you need to start. When we hear about change or we know we need to make a change, sometimes we need to process it. Like I said, sometimes we need to adapt to it. And sometimes some of us just go into solution base. But no matter what strength you have, I want you to just take a step back and just take that deep breath in. And then I want you to seek support. Think about the things as you're evolving through these milestones in your life of what is the support that you're going to need to be able to accomplish what you want throughout this change. So for me, all the changes that I've made in my life, specifically in the last couple of years, I call my support system. I actually had conversations with a few of them just recently of some changes that I'm looking to make in the next couple of years. And I said, I need you to be my friend through this, and I need you to be there for me, but give me some tough love too. Because if I have these goals, I want to meet them. But that also means I have to make some changes, and I need some accountability there. So support is just extremely important when you're going through change. Another one is setting milestones for yourself. So if there's a goal that you're trying to set or a change that you're going through, having those milestones of, okay, I know that this change is going to evolve and happen in my life, but what are things in between that I need to just make sure that I'm okay, and those checkpoints for yourself. The next one is one that I am still working on, is going with the flow versus having to plan everything. And this one strikes home very much so, because even with the change of the brand for my nonprofit, changes for my career, changes with getting married and my last name and all of that stuff, I had it all planned in my head exactly how everything was going to go and how I was going to feel and all of that. But what I have learned is that when you plan everything and it doesn't go your way, it causes a lot more frustration. But when you go with the flow a little bit more, it's really cool to see the opportunities that come ahead of you if you're open to them. And openness is one of the tools that I teach a lot, as well as mindfulness. And I cannot tell you enough how cool it is to see when people are finally opening their minds to new opportunities. Other things to focus on is reflecting. So I've already had you reflect a little bit on your journey so far, but thinking about, what did I learn through those moments? What do I need to do to take into this new aspect of my life and this experience? Because guess what, guys? We're going to go through change for the rest of our lives till we're old, and probably, even in our older years, we're going to have this. And that's okay. But it's about taking what we've done and growing and evolving with it. Other things I would say kind of go along with the going with the flow is staying flexible to when things don't always happen the way that we want them to, adjusting to new situations, and also being okay with different solutions. Other things too that I would say are tools is focusing on what you can control. So I think a lot of times someone like me who wants to plan, who's still a recovering perfectionist, I really just want everything to go the way that I want. But you can't control everything. So maybe even looking at okay, throughout this change, what can I control and what is out of my hands, and how do I be okay with that? And I want you to be patient with yourself. But the last thing I want to share that really has been something that I've really focused on a lot with my coaching in the last couple of years is mindset shifts. And as I've gone through changes in my life, and as I still go through changes, the mindset shift is really important, because it is very easy to stay in our ways. It is very easy for us to think this is how I'm going to have to do this, or this is how it's always been. And for me, I've had to really work on my mindset of being okay, this is the end goal, but how it gets there, it's going to be beautiful no matter what. Or the mindset of, do I really care about certain things? Meaning, how I get there, does it really matter? And so when you can work on your mindset of, I'm going to go through this change, what do I need to do to get my mind in the right space to prepare for this change? I will tell you that's the biggest thing, and the biggest rewarding factor of all of the change that I've gone through is how I've handled my mindset. Some days it hasn't been easy, but the more that you can focus on what is that mindset for you, and how you're going to shift it to go through change is really important. So all of these tools are here to help you. They're here to support you so that when you are going through change, you can go through it more like a champ than you probably ever have before. And there's this quote saying, progress is impossible without change, and those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything. I want to say that one more time because I think it's really powerful. Progress is impossible without change, and those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything. And so when you think about growth, when you think about growing in your confidence, when you think about the next version of yourself, change has to be there. We have to let go of that past season of our lives, think it, reflect on it, and see what we've learned. But then we have to think about, what do I need to do to move into this new space of my life? And that's what I wish for all of you. So action, because I love some action, is I want you to reflect on where you've been, how far you've come with change. And then I want you to think about the changes that you want to make in your life now, and what are the things that you need to get in place to really have a positive outlook on that change. So thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I love sharing the things that are going on with my life and hoping that it really helps you and resonates with you so that you know that you're not alone on your change. I know that it's not easy. There are many moments where the gremlin on my shoulder kind of speaks a little louder than I'd like her to. But when you add the tools into your life, have the right support systems, and you know the end goal, that gremlin doesn't stay as long on your shoulder. And that's what I hope for all of you, is that you know that you can do anything that you put your mind to, and that positive change is so important to become the best person that you can be. So like I always say, continue to spread love and kindness to everybody that you meet, and have a great day. Thank you for tuning into the Confident Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, follow the Confident Podcast on Instagram and TikTok, and share it with those who might benefit. Also, if you are looking to work one-on-one with me, message and follow me on Instagram at Lisa Tarkington Official. Stay confident, stay inspired, and until next time, keep striving to be the best version of yourself. Take care.